What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs post-game show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. We're almost at the end of this week's NFC Wildcard matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams are going to take this one by a score of 30-20. And I mean, this was a really solid game for the Rams from really start to finish. And this is a team who battled a ton of adversity today. Not only did they come into this game as underdogs according to Vegas, but you look at the injuries that they faced all day long. You know, starting with Wolford, who was their starting quarterback in place of Goff today. He gets injured in the first half after a bad tackle with a neck injury. Jared Goff comes back in, and you could see that he wasn't 100%. I mean, he only had his thumb surgery 2 weeks ago, and you could tell that he was a little shaken up today, but he ended up getting the job done. And then in the second half, you know, you have Aaron Donald, who at the time that he went down was playing some fantastic football. You know, he had 2 sacks in the first half, was one of the reasons that the Rams defensive line was so good today. But guys like Leonard Floyd, Joseph Day, Hill, all stepped up and really helped this Rams team pull through. Overall, the Rams and Seahawks, the defensive lines were both fantastic, and those were really the stories today. The defenses for both teams really countered the other team's offenses, and you know, both defenses were fantastic, but especially getting the pressure on each of Goff and Russell Wilson. And also for the Rams, probably the highlight of the game was the pick six on the wide receiver screen. That was actually the first pick six off a wide receiver screen this year in the NFL. Just a fantastic play. Definitely gave the Rams some momentum. Most of the points were scored off field goals, 5 total field goals, but it was really what the Seahawks weren't able to do offensively, in my opinion, that really, you know, allowed the Rams to pull through with this one. We look at the Seahawks, who were brutal on third down, 2 for 13 at the time that I'm filming this, and, you know, really hurt by some of the penalties they picked up offensively. We look at some of the holdings and false starts, especially, you know, that hurt them in the second half, but really penalties that they couldn't take for an offense that was already struggling. Just made each drive, especially in that second half, that much more difficult. But let's flip over to the box score. We'll start with the Rams. Particularly at the quarterback position. You know, John Wolford started this game because we knew Jared Goff wasn't 100%, but he only threw 6 passes. He was 3 for 6, left the game with his injury. Jared Goff is forced to come back in. Jared Goff got the job done, wasn't fantastic, threw only 1 touchdown, but didn't turn the ball over. Again, he wasn't fantastic, but in my opinion, he did just enough to get the job done. He made some bigger throws down, especially in the fourth quarter, which really sealed the game for the Rams. But if we look at sort of the rushing game, I mean, that's what really did it for the Rams in terms of offense. They struggled offensively, but it was the rushing game that got them the points that they did. Cam Akers was absolutely fantastic. And good for him. I mean, this is a guy who, you know, is just coming into the league, struggled a lot last week, didn't even play some of the weeks prior, and was absolutely fantastic tonight with 28 carries, over 130 yards, and also in terms of receiving, also had 2 receptions for 45 yards as well. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, both had 4 receptions. Robert Woods had a fantastic regular season with over 90 catches this year. He also had the only touchdown reception for the Rams. Defensively, Aaron Donald, fantastic, 2 sacks, even though he left the game in the second half. Jalen Ramsey, I thought, did a great job locking up DK Metcalf, except for that one play where DK had the long touchdown. I know he also let DK get a catch in the second half, but for the most part, he locked him down. And then you just look at the overall defense as a whole. I mean, Leonard Floyd had a sack as well. They had pressure on Russell Wilson all night. Only 3 sacks, but that doesn't do justice to how much pressure they were really getting past that offensive line of the Seahawks and getting to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, I mean, you look at his stat line, he struggled. 11 of 25, under 200 passing yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, threw the pick on that wide receiver screen. He struggled. It wasn't really his fault. You know, you could tell how rushed he was in the pocket, getting forced, having to go through his progressions quickly. In terms of the rushing game, Carson actually did pretty well. 16 carries, 77 yards. But also, if you look at Russell Wilson, 50 yards on the ground, you know, that just shows how much he had to get out of the pocket and, you know, how much improvising he had to do because of the pressure that he was getting. DK Metcalf led the way, 5 receptions, 96 yards. caught both touchdowns for the Seahawks. He was frustrated in the first half. He had trouble getting going. I thought Jalen Ramsey did do very well against him. Tyler Lockett had 2 receptions, and then a bunch of other guys had 1 reception each. Seahawks defense actually played fairly well. Rams scored 30 points, but again, it's 23 if you take away the defensive touchdown. Bobby Wagner played absolutely fantastic. 15 total tackles and a sack as well. He was great. Reed was fantastic. Jamal Adams, though, wasn't great. There was a stat that I saw in the first half where they had like 78 passing yards at one point, and like all of them were with Jamal Adams as the closest defender. So he was definitely their weakest point defensively, in a defense that really did play quite well in a loss. Let's flip over to the team stats. As I was mentioning before, it was really, what the Seahawks did to themselves. We look at 2 for 13 on 3rd down at the time that I'm filming this. Did have a 4th down conversion, but again, 9 penalties for 60 yards and the 2 turnovers. I mean, the Seahawks defense played great. Just the offense couldn't get the job done. And it's unfortunate. The Seahawks started this year off fantastic, have such a talented offense, and I'm sure they'll be back doing great things next year, but they really did get shut down today, and a lot of it was their fault. We'll just take a quick look over to next week. The Rams will now play the 1-seeded Packers. If the Rams do end up being the lowest seed remaining, the Packers should be a bit more of a challenge. When you look at a team who's really, really solid on both sides of the ball, obviously a lot of experience in Aaron Rodgers and just, some fantastic players on that offense. When we look at guys like Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, who have been absolutely sensational this year. I think for the Rams to be able to win this game, regardless of whoever they play in the next round, they got to be able to be healthier at quarterback. Jared Goff didn't have a lot of reps in practice this week, but hopefully, this extra week can get them a bit healthier. But yeah, they'll also be needing to run the ball. Cam Akers would have to have another fantastic game, but we'll see if they can get the job done next week. But anyways, guys, if you did make it to this point in the video, let me know your thoughts on this game down in the comment section below. What did you think of the way that the Rams played? Are you surprised? Do you think it was more the Seahawks who lost this game? I want to hear it all down in the comment section below. Also, let me know your thoughts on what you think the Rams are going to do. Do you think they're going to lose next week? What needs to happen for them to win against whoever they play? Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs. We're going to be covering the rest of the NFL playoffs. So if you are an NFL fan, definitely make sure to stick around for these post-game shows coming up tomorrow and also in the upcoming weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. But again, if you guys did make it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I hope to see you again next time.